Welcome to your mom's favorite channel. And today we will be making some of these beautiful, fluffy English muffins. And let's get right into it. In a mixing bowl, measure out 350 grams of white bread flour and 5 grams of salt. In another container, measure out 100 milliliters of water, 150 milliliters of plant-based milk, and 5 grams of instant yeast. And add 20 milliliters of oil to the flour. Any oil will do, but a good olive oil will just give it an extra boost of flavor. Add all your liquid to the flour and mix until you have a shaggy dough. Turn your dough out on a lightly floured work surface and then start kneading for 5 to 10 minutes or until your dough is nice and smooth. And then form it into a little ball by folding the edges over into itself and giving it a few mandatory dough slaps. And then cover the dough in an oiled container and leave it to proof for 1 hour. After proofing, it should have at least doubled in size. Lightly dust your dough and your rolling pin with some flour and start rolling out the dough. For smaller muffins, you can roll the dough to a thickness of 1.5 centimeters to 2 centimeters and then generously dust a baking tray with some semolina or corn flour. And for the smaller ones, I use a 3.5-inch cookie cutter. And once you've punched out as many as you can on the first go, set the excess dough aside while placing the circles on the baking tray. And then start the process over with the rest of the dough until you've punched out as many circles as you can. Put some of the semolina or corn flour on top of them and leave them to proof for another 30 minutes. I made another batch of bigger English muffins where I rolled the dough out to 3 centimeters thick and I used a 4-inch cookie cutter. And then on low heat in a dry, thick bottomed pan or cast iron skillet, carefully place your English muffins about 2 centimeters apart and cover them. And let them cook for 3 to 4 minutes per side or until they go golden brown. They might feel a little hard when they are done cooking, but they will go nice and soft as they cool down. With the bigger ones, I could only fit 2 in the pan at a time. And they also had to cook a little bit longer. I had to let them go for 5 minutes per side. Once they are all done cooking, leave them to cool completely, then store them in the fridge for up to a week or in the freezer for 3 months. But that's only if you have the willpower not to devour them all immediately. For best results, use a fork to split them open like this. And splitting it with a fork will create more nooks and crannies for butter or jam to adhere to. And those little pieces that stick out go extra crispy when you toast them. You can toast them in your pan or skillet or throw them in your toaster for 3 minutes. I love toasting them when they are super fresh with a little bit of butter, sometimes even a bit of jam. But I'm going to try and make a McDonald's style sausage McMuffin. And I'll try using these breakfast bangers from Fry's to make a patty. I used 2 of the sausages to make 1 patty. I just blended them until they looked like mince. Then I added half a tablespoon of vital wheat gluten, 1 teaspoon of oil, and I slowly added water until everything started coming together. Then I just threw it out onto my work surface and pressed everything together to make 1 ball. You can use your hands to form the patty, or you could use a cookie cutter to make a perfectly round patty. I then threw it into a cast iron skillet with some oil on medium-high heat and cooked it for about 3 minutes on each side. If you don't want to go through all the effort to make a patty, you could just use the sausages as they are, or you could cut them up and fry them. And then I made some tofu scramble, but I only had frozen tofu, and that's why the tofu looks so flaky. I then also added a small amount of my omelette mixture just to make everything come together and make it a bit more eggy. And now it's assembly time. So now cut, toast and butter your English muffin. And before I forget, you can't have a sausage McMuffin without having some hash browns. The last time I had a sausage McMuffin was probably more than 5 years ago. And if I can remember correctly, it did have some tomato sauce on it. I'm also adding a slice of this beautiful heirloom tomato that my mom-in-law is growing in her backyard. It's the first time I'm ever trying one of these. Add the patty, a slice of cheese, melted, and I guess it's technically a sausage egg McMuffin when adding the tofu scramble. And then the final piece, the hat. And I made another one that's exactly the same, just instead of a patty, it's the cut up sausages. And just a little tip, I melt the cheese by just placing it into the microwave for about 15 seconds. And there you have it, the homemade sausage egg McMuffin. Not only do they look amazing, they tasted so fucking good. And this is just one of the thousands of ways that you can enjoy your English muffins. So if you do end up making these, please let me know how they were and I would love to see them. So anyway, if you enjoyed this recipe, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, like this video. If you have any questions or suggestions, leave them in a comment below. And as always, see you in the next one. Peace!